Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Archie's Briefings. I'm your host, Arshel Branch, and today you guys are going to talk about the JFK assassination. All these files that have come out, I have my theory as to why they just had this mass file dump on the American people. It was a lot. I did sift through some of it. And my goodness, the things that I was finding out, it was just a lot of information. And I just want to say to my viewers and my subscribers, you guys are awesome because you guys sent me links and information to go in the deep dive because I had my suspicions. And it's not to say that I have the smoking gun. It's not to say that I can confirm what my theory is. Well, not my theory, but what some theories have been. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So before we go ahead and do that, you guys, first, if you were new to the channel, subscribe, hit the notification bell because first of all, if you're a part of this community, you're part of the Arshel financial subscribers. I mean, you guys rock. You don't just sit here and watch when I ask you guys to go on this investigation with me. You do the deep dive with me. You send me information. We have this conversation back and forth. It's respectable and it's awesome. So become a subscriber because it is an awesome thing to be a part of this. It's just really, really great. So without further ado, you guys, let's just go ahead and let's do this deep dive into the JFK files, shall we?
There is something that has been on my heart that I did want to discuss. Discipline is a huge part of being productive, being lucrative. I am not for anything that goes against true productivity, true sovereignty of the individual. The choices that we make are what's going to be up for judgment.
All right, you guys. So as I said in the open, we are going to talk about the JFK assassination. That I did go through some of the files, not all of them. There is over 2,000. Some are saying it's 6,300 pages, but there's just a lot. My computer couldn't handle all the downloaded files. My brain couldn't handle all of the dang computer files. But I'll tell you, with everything that I was seeing a lot of stuff. I mean, dates, names, phrases. You guys, I mean, come on. I was seeing Cuba, Soviet Union, CIA. I mean, there was just so much. Okay, secret meetings with communist government officials. It didn't matter. Okay, it did not matter. There was just a lot going on, a lot of questions, and really, you just have just the one question, right? Why did he die? I mean, really, it's just why did somebody do this, right? They're saying it was Lee Oswald, right? Let's say that's true. Okay, so why did he do it? LBJ was saying that Lee Oswald was working alone, that he just killed him just to kill him. That's the reason why. That didn't sit well with the American people then. It doesn't sit with us today. But of course, it just comes back to the same damn question, excuse my language. Why did he do it?
That is the question.
And so at some point, because when I did go through these files, there were so many. I think I downloaded 50 files to my computer, and that's what I was seeing all of this different stuff. I didn't know what I was looking at, and the first thing that popped into my head was, this is why we have a media. This is why you have them, right? Because they have the team, the money to sift through all of this and really to just give us the relevant points here. Because frankly, that's part of this whole thing. I think the reason why the government just threw all of this at once at the American people was because, too much information just really takes a lot of time. I think we learned this from watching every law show, right? Every lawyer show, from The Good Wife. They just send you all of this information so you don't have the amount of time to sift through everything to find the smoking gun, the piece of paper that says, yeah, I know why, I know who, we know everything. It's just that those few pieces of paper. And so one of my viewers, which is, again, become a subscriber because, again, you guys are awesome. Become a viewer. This is just awesome. Someone sent me a link to this gentleman named, I believe I have it here. His name is Michael Collins Phillips, I believe. And I'm going to show you guys the video of his lecture that came out. This was years ago. You could tell just by looking at the camera footage. This came out years ago. I want to say in the early 2000s. And he breaks down a couple of different theories. Now, the first theory he talks into, that's not the part I'm going to show you, but just to give you a sum up of that, he does go into the leftist theory that this was because of a bunch of right-wingers. Okay, plausible. Neocons in government wanted the Democrat dead. Okay, let's say that's true. Is it plausible? It's on the yellow, right? Not quite red. It's on the yellow part of the meter. So there's some legs to this. However, they were connected to Israel. So in one of the theories that's not quite got all the meat and potatoes to it, it was connected to Israel. That's just one of the theories that he covered. But now the theory that you guys I'm going to show from this gentleman's lecture is the one that I was leaning towards the most when I watched this gentleman's lecture. And there's a reason for that. And I'll get into those reasons after I show you guys the clip. So let's go ahead and let's run Michael Collins Phillips' lecture, just that portion, so you guys could see where my head is and why I'm choosing to believe that this is the accurate situation, that this is the reasoning, that these are the individuals and entities that were responsible for the death of JFK. Let's go ahead and let's run that, shall we? Okay, guys, so this is the video of this gentleman, Michael Collins Piper, not Phillips, Piper, his lecture, and he goes into the different theories because he wrote a book about the whole JFK situation. And I am going to link this in the description box because I think everybody who is interested in the JFK assassination should definitely check this out. It does help bring some context to a lot of the files that I looked at, and that's why I'm inclined to agree with the particular theory that he runs here. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to run that for you guys now.
Here's Clay Shaw, the New Orleans businessman who was indicted by Jim Garrison. Now, Shaw was connected with Guy Bannister, who I mentioned earlier, who in turn, of course, is connected with the ADL. There's also a gentleman named David Ferry. He was played by Joe Pesci in the movie. And of course, you get down here to the lower level people. This chart, I'm not going to give you the whole thing because I don't want everybody to be confused. This is Lee Harvey Oswald. Here's those Cuban exiles we keep hearing about. Okay, then you have the Mafia. Everybody hears about the Mafia and Carlos Marcello.
Okay, so before I let him go on, I just want you guys to hear. Now, remember, Cuba. Remember I said in my open that there was a lot in these files. I was seeing things like Cuba in the files. Okay, now just keep Cuba in the brain. Keep Cuba in the brain.
And you have the CIA. And of course, the CIA, they were involved too, just as, of course, you can connect.
Also in the files.
Is anybody getting confused by this so far? You all able to follow along? I'll pass this chart out so you can see it in detail, but I want to explain it up here first.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the CIA. This is what this picture right here, I would call this the New Orleans nexus. This is the standard basic conspiracy theory on the JFK assassination. Well, you had some mafia elements. You had some CIA elements. They were connected. They were all connected to the Cubans, and Oswald was connected. And then there was Clay Shaw, who was connected to the CIA, and Bannister and Ferry and the Mafia. This is the part that they leave out.
Outrageous.
It's very simple, but this is why they have to leave it out. Clay Shaw, Guy Bannister, and David Ferry were all jointly connected in their own fashion, but working together with a company based in Europe. I love this name. It's a great name. I wish I'd have thought of it myself. Called Permandex. Now, this company existed. This isn't a mythical company. Now, in the movie JFK, you see the character playing Jim Garrison confront Clay Shaw and say, well, you served on the board of a CIA front company called Permandex, and Clay Shaw says, oh, I'm going to sue. That's not true. Well, here's what Oliver Stone doesn't tell you about Permandex. The primary force behind Permandex,
This is important, you guys. This right here.
was a guy named Tiber Rosenthal. He headed the International Credit Bank of Geneva, Switzerland. The International Credit Bank of Geneva, Switzerland was the chief European money laundering operation for Meyer Lansky, which, of course, he was the real boss of the mob. We call it the mafia because that's a good way to frame it on the Italian Americans. But Meyer Lansky ran organized crime. Meyer Lansky's buddy was Tiber Meyer Lansky. Louis Bloomfield was also a prime mover behind the Israeli lobby in Canada.
There you
So
have.
now here's the kicker for all this. When some of these quote-unquote liberal JFK assassination researchers go so far as to even mention Permandex, and maybe they'll mention Meyer Lansky, and maybe even mention Louis Bloomfield, the one thing they forget to mention is the Israeli connection.
Yep. Now I'm going to leave it there for you guys. Okay. What did he say there? All these people were connected. Lee Oswald was connected to the Cubans. Cubans obviously with the CIA. That the people at the top there were also a part of dealings with the mafia. All of this connected to the Permadex company, which is a laundering company for the mob. and is also connected to Israel. So, in all of the things, all the theories that this guy presented in this lecture series that he had here, this lecture that he gave, which is also in his book as well, it all brings together Israel. Now, why am I talking about Israel? I'm going to come out of this, you guys. Now, why is Israel so important to this? Now, I did a coffee time video, you guys, where I said that there was a speculation that Israel was involved in this. And when you look at the information, when you look at the facts about what happened around that time period, what JFK wanted to do, and what didn't happen after he died, AIPAC was supposed to be considered a foreign agency, that Israel was not supposed to become a nuclear nation, both of which, obviously, this is what happened, right? So AIPAC does not become a foreign agent at all. Does not become registered as a foreign agent, and Israel gets the nuclear weapon that they were looking to get. Now, would this have happened if JFK hadn't been assassinated? Of course not. So they have motive. This is clear motive. And every cop show, I don't care if you're talking from the 70s, I don't care if you're talking about Magnum PI series, Charlie's Angels, Policewoman, all the way up to Law and Order and Tom Selleck's Blue Bloods. Where there is a motive, you have a suspect. And until I get a definitive answer, okay, a definitive answer that this is the person who did it and this is why they did it, there's always going to be suspicion. Why is it that the Lee Oswald killed JFK did not sit well with the American people then and not today? Like, why isn't it's like, why? Because there's no motive. Why would he do this? We didn't get a why. And until we get a why, yeah, no, all of this is going to play out the way that it does. People have their theories, and why I'm inclined to believe this gentleman's theory. Okay, so I told you guys to remember Cuba. Why did I say remember Cuba? Because this is a huge part of the files. It's a huge part. The Cubans, particularly Cuba, Fidel Castro, Kennedy was responsible for several assassination attempts on his life because of the whole Cuban Missile Crisis. Cuba was trying to get cozied up, and they were cozied up with the Soviet Union at the time. And so this is just to try to keep things together, trying to keep the Soviets out of our hemisphere. This is part of the reason why Kennedy wanted to go after him. There was a rise of communists from the Cubans here in the United States, particularly in Miami. And don't take my word for it, okay? There is an article. I'm going to show you guys the article because there was information on this. And I'm not the only one who notices that as well, because even the left media is pointing out the fact that there is a Cuban connection here as well. So let's go ahead and pull up that article for you guys. Okay, you guys. So here you can see at the top here, obviously, remember, it is, mainstream media, but it does show that they are acknowledging some parts of this in the file. So the release of the JFK files could shed light on possible Miami and Cuba assassination links. Now, you guys, as you go through this, it does point out a lot of things here. More than 63,000 pages of records related to the assassination of JFK, creating a possibility that new information could be revealed about Miami's possible ties to the event. The plot in Miami 4 days before the assassination on November 18th, Kennedy visited Miami, where there were fears an attempt would be made on his life, so much that his planned motorcade trip through Miami was canceled. Now we have Cuba and JFK right here. There was already some anti-Kennedy sentiment in Miami, particularly among the Cuban exile community following the failed Bay of Pigs invasion. For those of you that don't know what that is, the Bay of Pigs invasion was really first started. It was Eisenhower's plan, but JFK took office and he decided to go along with the plan where they would use a lot of the exiled Cubans who were in the United States to go and try to cause issues in Cuba, right? Like, we're going to go and we're going to overthrow Castro and we're going to take back the country for freedom. A lot of them died or were captured, and a lot of Cubans could not stand Kennedy for that reason. So it goes on to say that because of the rise of communism in Cuba, because of their association with the Soviet Union, right here, Kennedy's White House has made several assassination attempts on Castro that were all unsuccessful. And Castro's alliance with the Soviet Union led to the Cuban Missile Crisis, the most daunting test of Kennedy's during his time in office. There's long been speculation that Castro had a hand in the JFK assassination, or the very least, that the Cuban intelligence had links to Oswald. Now, what did that gentleman say? That Oswald was, in fact, connected to the Cubans. So I'm going to come out of this. And so, of course, I just said a couple of things there, right? That I have my suspicions about Israel because Israel had motive. And now from these particular files, it shows that Cuba might also have some involvement in this because they too had motive. So there's a lot going on here, and it seems like, yo, what is happening? I don't know if my brain can handle this. It's just a lot of information, right?
My brain's gone.
I think at some point it was really just about trying to bring all this information together and try to make sense out of this. Okay, so Israel has motive. The Cubans have motive. The military industrial complex obviously has motive. So who did it? Why did they do it? And so I just came to this conclusion, you guys. Is it possible that there was more than one entity involved in this? Because from the looks of it, there are mutual benefactors here. And again, until there is a smoking gun, until there is a definitive answer that it was Israel, that it was the Cubans, that it was our government solely responsible for this, which let's call spade. LBJ did gain a lot out of this, right? JFK dies, LBJ becomes the president. He's the one that protected Israel. He's the one that signed off on them getting a nuclear development in this theory that this gentleman lays out, which I'm inclined to agree and believe in, simply because there is proof in the JFK files that Oswald is connected to the Cubans. The Cubans are connected to the CIA. The CIA is an entity that JFK did want to dismantle, that the military industrial complex is something that JFK wanted to get rid of. Small government is what JFK wanted, none of which was able to remain the case after he died. Government got bigger. The military industrial complex got stronger. Israel got the nuclear arms that they were looking to get, the funding that they were looking to get. AIPAC is still not a foreign entity. And there are a lot of benefactors in this, okay? A lot of benefactors in this man's death. And so what does that tell me? Okay, well, a lot of people got motive. A lot of people have motive. And so is it possible to assume that all these people coordinated together so that way they can get rid of this man to do what it is that they wanted to do?
Execute Order 66.
And I'm like, I don't know if I brought any kind of clarity to you guys, because to be honest, it's not as if that there is 100. It's not clear. It's not quite clear. Things are starting to come into focus, which is why I was able to go just from saying, oh no, it's just Israel, to, nah, I think that Israel might have been working with other people. And when I say Israel, I mean like the hierarchy, okay? The hierarchy might have been involved in this because they had something to gain. They had something to gain. Cuba had something. The Cubans had something to gain. The military had something to gain. Our military, okay? The military industrial complex, okay? The shadow government, the deep state. There's a lot here that a lot of people could have benefited from his death, okay? Smaller government did not stay the case once he died, all right? The welfare state was created, the Great Society, which single-handedly destroyed Black America. That happened because he died. Would that have happened had he not been assassinated? Definitely not, okay? Operation Mockingbird, where CIA operatives were deliberately put into our mainstream media to push propaganda. Would that have happened? Probably not. Would America have elected both Bushes? Probably not. Would we have elected Barack Obama? Probably not. Would 9/11 have actually happened or would have actually been prevented? I mean, just you have to wonder, if this man had not been assassinated, where would society be? And I think that's the key focus here. That's the big picture that I don't think Black Americans wanted to acknowledge because we're so focused on Black versus white and you're not woke enough and all the nonsense. Defund the police, just absolute nonsense. And they lose focus of the bigger picture here. Society never remained the same after JFK died, any more than society remained the same after 9/11. Okay, we were more than willing to hand over certain liberties, more than willing to just believe everything that we were told. Our education system went the wrong way. I mean, look at what happened after the man died. Yo, the Department of Education, yo, all of this nonsense. Yo, if that man had not been assassinated, where would America be today? Had that man not been killed? I mean, government got bigger. The military industrial complex, they got more powerful, okay? They got more powerful. And we don't have any definitive answers. LBJ says Lee Oswald killed Kennedy, and that's it. There's no why he did it, except for what? He didn't like him. That's it. I don't like the man, so I'm going to shoot him. Like, really? That's it? That's it? That's not enough. That's not enough for the American people. There's a lot of information from these files. And again, I think the reason for such a massive file dump was because they know there's something in here and we're still sifting through. I believe that Michael Collins' theory here about how all these individuals, that how he calls the New Orleans, well, I'm going to call it, he calls it the New Orleans Nexus, I believe. I'm going to call it the New Orleans Network. All these people connected to the mafia, connected to the CIA, connected to PermDax, which again, was laundering money for both the mob and for Israel. Like, I mean, no matter what theory you go through, Israel is involved. In this particular one, Cuba is also involved. And why am I inclined to believe that? Because in the files, I see Cuba, I see the Soviet Union, I see CIA. I see all of those phrases in the documents. I see Soviet Union, communism, secret communist meetings in the government. Yo, people, all these things that happened after his death, and I'm supposed to think what?
Coincidence? I think not!
So you guys get in the comments to let me know what you think. I mean, I hope I gave some kind of clarity here. I will say, after watching that gentleman's, after watching Michael Collins' lecture, it only confirmed my suspicion about Israel. I do think that they were involved, no matter what theory you look at, okay? Whether we're talking about the one that has very little legs to the one that seems like it's the most plausible, Israel is involved in this, okay? They're involved in some shape or form. Okay, down to the dang JFK movie that Oliver Stone directed. Because who produced the movie? An Israel arms dealer. He's the one who produced the dang movie. So Israel has all been through this. Okay, I'm not convinced that they have nothing to do with this. And again, as long as there is a motive, you are a suspect. And until I have a smoking gun and clear, definitive answers as to it was this person, it was this entity, and this is why, I'm going to continue to believe that. I think Israel and other entities and individuals colluded together because they're mutual benefactors. That's what I think. And because there were mutual benefactors to this, they knew they had to get rid of him. As long as Kennedy is around, you can't destroy Black America. As long as Kennedy is around, Israel can't become the most powerful nation in the region. As long as Kennedy is around, the Soviet Union and the United States could work towards peace. Because what happened after he died? The Cold War was allowed to continue. I mean, just that's my personal take on this, obviously. Whether or not the Cold War would have continued for as long as it did if JFK hadn't been assassinated, if he's still been alive, would that still have gone on for as long as it did? I don't know. But you can definitely tell that after he died, our foreign policy changed 100%. Like, it just did a complete 180, and it was no longer the same. Our society changed dramatically. And millennials and Gen Zers, we grew up in a society where you have big government, where you have a military industrial complex that's constantly just encroaching and impeding on the freedoms and liberties of the American people, and a foreign policy that puts everybody else first but us. You get in the comments and let me know what you think about this, because absolutely insane. There's a lot more. And you guys, that was just from a few documents, okay? Just from seeing a few documents. Cuba, Soviet Union, CIA, and then this guy's theory. Thank you to the viewer who sent me that link, because I was all over the place. My brain could not handle it. I was so confused, yo. I just could not handle it. And then I watched Michael Collins' lecture, and it was like, okay, so this does make sense. Maybe there were mad people involved in this. Maybe it wasn't like it was just the hierarchy of Israel. Maybe it wasn't just the US government. Maybe there are other people and entities involved in this. And there were mutual benefactors, multiple benefactors to his assassination. So you guys, again, get in the comments. Let me know what you think about this, because the only kind of clarity really that I got out of this is just to confirm Israel is definitely a part of this. That's what I'm getting out of this. Every theory leads to them. That's the first thing. Okay, they got a motive, and that's enough to say you're a suspect. That multiple people could be involved in this, and that's what I want you guys to let me know what you think about that. Because again, crazy, a lot. I'm going to continue going through these files. I'm going to go through even the mainstream media, because again, there's like 63,000 pages. We read that together. 63,000 pages of these files. And I only got through 50. So there's a lot more here. We're going to find it. We're going to find it. Okay. Not just me by myself, with you guys as well. So that's kind of the goal, that we work together to get to the truth, because I'm curious. Yeah. I'd like to know who killed the former president of the United States. I am inclined to believe our government played a role. I'm also inclined to believe that Israel played a role. I now believe Cuba also had a part in this. I think many people, multiple benefactors. Listen, hey, there's more than one way to skin a cat, as my mother told me. So I think that's what's happening. Love you all so much. You guys are amazing. If you guys are new to the channel, again, subscribe, hit the notification bell. If you have any more information that could help make some sense out of this, definitely drop it in the comment section. Links. Message me, email me, let me know. I want to go through this. I don't want to go through it alone, because again, 60,000 pages, I can't do it by myself. So let me know. Get in the comments. I love you guys. Have a good night, and Kepla.